So the Dragonslayer Swordspear is one of the coolest weapons in the game. It's also a very good weapon, and I've discussed this a little bit before when I went through my top 5 weapons series, and I said that this weapon, probably one of the top 5 weapons in the game. That list has probably shifted around quite a bit since the game first came out, but it doesn't take away from the fact that this is still a very versatile and a very, very good weapon. The one-handed moveset is like a spear, which is actually really good and really fast. It has a good amount of range, and it does a decent amount of damage. The R2 is a horizontal sweep, and the rolling R1 is also a overhead attack that is very fast. The two-handed moveset is kind of like the glaive, which we all know how good glaives can be. It does extend a little bit further than normal. As you can see, your hands end up going to the bottom end of the pole of the weapon, and you extend with your feet a little bit to gain some extra range. So the weapon can be deceptively long and catch people out. And of course, what's really nice about this weapon is the weapon art as well, which adds 80 points of lightning damage and brings down a giant lightning stick on the enemy. While it is fairly easy to dodge and it's not something you should usually rely on, it's a good idea to throw out if you have some range. You might catch an opponent and you get an extra 80 points of damage. So with the two-handed weapon, we get 500 AR exactly. When we do the weapon buff, we gain an extra 80 points of damage for a total of 580 attack rating. Now, usually when you hit an opponent, you're going to be doing between 250, maybe even a little bit less than that, like 240, 230, between 230 and let's say 300 points of damage, give or take, depending on enemy's armor and their level and stuff like that. So a two-hit combo is probably going to end up hitting somewhere between 500, 600, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. But that's generally what you can expect from this weapon. Now, what is kind of unique about this weapon also is that it does require a bit of disbursement in your stats in order to use. So it needs 16 strength, 22 dexterity, and 18 faith. It's really hard to kind of construct a build to use this weapon as well as other weapons in the game. So what I went ahead and did was made a build dedicated to using just the Dragonslayer Swordspear. Now you may think, why would I want to do this? This is the total waste. Why would you want to limit yourself to one weapon? And to some degree, you're right. Why would you ever really want to do this? This isn't really a game like Dark Souls 2 where you could really build a character around a specific idea or a specific weapon. Well, you could, but it's just not as effective as it was in Dark Souls 2. However, just to mix things up and keep things fun, I figured, why not? So what I found by going to Rosaria and playing around with a few different stats is that when you put your strength at 26, that's when the soft cap for this weapon scaling kind of tapers off. So up to 26, you're going to get around 3 to 4 points of attack rating up to level 26. After level 26 of strength, you're going to only gain 1 attack rating after you level it up from there. Same goes for 40 dexterity. When you go up to, I think it's 38 dexterity, you're getting 3 to 4 points of attack rating for physical, and then 39 and 40, you get 2 points of attack rating. Anything after that, you get 1. For the faith, it's not really worth leveling up because, again, you have very limited lightning damage, but for every 1 point of faith you put in past 18, you only gain 1 AR, and that is towards the lightning damage, which isn't really worth it. So with this build, I went with the 39 health, which coupled with the life ring plus 3 and the ring of favor plus 2, brings us up to our standard baseline 1801. I've been rocking this since the game pretty much came out, and I think it's become the adopted standard for pretty much every build now, or every competitive build in PvP, but you want a lot of health. I've talked about this in another video, in a very old video where I outlined probably one of the best builds in the game, which is the quality build, and it's pretty much been adopted across the board. Attunement is at 14 simply so that we can use our Tears of Denial. Tears of Denial, pretty much a staple for any kind of quality or faith build, if you ask me. Having that extra hit available to you to win out a trade or something is definitely a good idea and can come down to really helping you win a match in the crucial, dire moments. And just a quick side note about the weapon art is that as of Regulation 1.09, the duration of the buff actually lasts for 45 seconds now, which is a big improvement. Vitality, I just threw some extra points in there, so if you are actually keeping this at soul level 120, you would just take away the points from Vitality. It's not really worth it. Strength and Dexterity, I've already explained that. Same with Faith. Our Intelligence and our Luck are stayed at the basic levels that you get with when you start off with the Knight. They just stay the same. We don't level those up at all. So that is the build. Armor-wise, I went with the Alva Helm. In my opinion, is probably one of the better helms in the game. The Dragon Scale armor, just because it looks badass, and we're using the Dragonslayer Swordspear, so why not? The Dragon Scale armor, pretty. Just pretty. It's just pretty. It's just pretty. Look at that. Anyways, our handpiece, the Outrider Knight Gauntlet's probably the best gauntlet piece in the game, if you ask me. 2.9 weight, a decent amount of physical resistance compared to other handpieces that you can equip. And I went with the Nameless Night leggings. This is for some reason the leggings that I like to use. 5.6 weight, 7 physical resistance, 7.4 slash, 6.7 thrust. Nobody really uses strike, but it has a decent amount of strike as well, and decent elemental, but we really only care about the physical. So I think the Nameless Night leggings personally is one of the better leggings in the game for weight to defense ratio. That's just me. That you can see our weight ratio here is at 69.4 with this setup. And of course, if we switch out the life ring to the Sun Princess ring, which we usually like to do, it adds 0.5 weight, which puts us right underneath the 70 threshold, so we can still fast roll. And if we need to switch out the Lloyd Shield ring as well, we can always go to the Leo ring, which weighs less and puts us in a good position as well to be under 70%. So that is pretty much the way that the build breaks down. I found it pretty effective, and I did record myself doing some live PvP matches or live commentary where we essentially won 10 matches in a row. So if you want to see that, I will link it on the right hand side here of the video, so go ahead and click that link if you want to be taken there. I'll also link it in the description, so make sure you check that out if you want to see some funny duels and just see us dominate with this build. It's a really good build, and if you are looking to make a build around this weapon and a few other I guess faith and strength slash dexterity weapons, this build actually turns out to be pretty good. I found that it does really help to maximize the amount of scaling you get from the Dragonslayer Swordspear, and this is a really good weapon, like I mentioned before, right? It's really overlooked, I think, and really underutilized in PvP, but the one weakness of it is that it is parryable, and I know I mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but I find that if you're good with spacing and if you're good with reading the game, the only way you're really going to lose is to a lucky parry. So I'm always wary of that, and I always mention it just so you guys are aware that no matter how good you are, you know, all it takes is one mistake from you and one lucky moment from the opponent to parry you. And you know what, if they're using like a Hornet Ring and a heavy weapon, they're probably going to dish out like 1,500 points of damage to you. Since apparently From Software thought it was a good idea to buff the Hornet Ring, in the regulation 1.09, I don't know. It is what it is, but let me know what you guys think. Try out the build if you wanted to experiment with this weapon. Like I said, it's a really good weapon. It's probably still one of the better weapons in the game. It does weigh a lot, but I mean, it's worth it if you ask me. It's a really fun weapon to use, and I'm really a big fan of the weapon arts that they added in this game, and this is definitely one of the most unique weapon arts you'll find out of any weapon across Dark Souls 3. So try this PvP build out if you have trouble winning. This build should at least net you a few wins. Get comfortable with the weapon moveset. It's really good. But yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. Provide some feedback. Leave a comment. Leave a like. It really helps. And check out the channel for more Dark Souls 3 content. Thank you for watching again. Quantum is out.